All right, I'm showing 7 o'clock on my phone, so let's go ahead and start. I'd like to go ahead and call this September 28th, 2021 City Council regular session to order. Let's go ahead and start with the roll call.
Mayor Bagley.
Here.
Council members Christensen.
Here.
Hidalgo Faring.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Peck.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, let's say a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, just a quick reminder to the public, if you want to speak, at the first call, public invited to be heard, you need to get your name on this list. Is there anybody here that didn't get their name on this list? All right, that said, if you do want to say something else, it's a regular session, so there will be an opportunity for the public to speak at the end of the meeting if you are not on the list. All right, we do not have minutes to approve. That has been adjusted in our agenda. We will approve the September 14th regular session minutes next meeting. Do we have any agenda revisions, submission of documents, or motions to direct the city manager to add agenda items? All right, not seeing any. Councilmember Martin? You don't have any?
Excuse me, didn't we put that on general business already?
No, yeah, I know, just making sure that you have anything.
Because, no, I don't.
Okay, all right, just checking. Okay, just checking. All right, city manager's report, update on COVID-19.
Mayor, Council, just give me a second to. This will be a fairly brief report. We had the update by Boulder County Health today. As you can see, the numbers are trending in the direction that we want to see. We're still in a level of high transmission, and I've actually called up another slide so you all can see what that means, because I'm going to touch on some points on these two slides. So high transmission is when you have a case rate greater than 100,000, or greater than 100 for per 100,000 population in the last 7 days. Substantial and significant is 50 to 99. And then low to moderate is 10 to 49. And that's important to know in this case, because we've had a few questions about, so what does this mean in terms of the masking order that Boulder County has put in place? What it means is that we have to be below the orange line for 21 days for the masking order to be removed. And that, going back to this, is having between 10 and 49 cases within the last 7 days. So we're moving in the right direction, but we have to be between the yellow and the orange for 21 days for the mask order to be removed. And at that point, then it will be strongly encouraged from Boulder County Health. And I wanted to talk about this in that slide because we've sort of glossed over it in previous sessions. And I just wanted to point it out for tonight's conversation. Then what happens is, and you go, well, then what happens when we go above the orange line after that? That has to be above the orange line for 5 days, and then they'll adjust accordingly. When you look at this in terms of what we're seeing in the state, obviously you can see that Boulder County is still in high transmission, 128.76, but compared to last week, if you remember, there were only two of the greens going down and everything else was red. We're now starting to see more of the counties drop in terms of their numbers and what they're going through. Again, really starting to see the shift also move in terms of the case trends among age groups. We're starting to watch some of the wastewater data a little bit. I need to get another couple of samples in to see if it looks like that trend's going to continue. And then as you can see here, the majority of the cases actually in Boulder County are now attributed to Longmont versus where it was slightly different before. And then when we look at the health systems, the North Central region, staffed ICU med-surg bed availability averaged about 14%. So they're sort of hanging in the same area. They're probably a little bit lower. I believe it was 20% in the last report that we gave you. Tight staffing, I know we talked about this before, is 23% of them have significant staff shortages. Again, it's really bringing both of those things together. It's not only the amount of beds you have, it's do you have the staff to actually serve those beds. And as you remember me talking to you about what we were seeing, some of the emergency rooms going into diversion because of staffing issues. The north central region is still taking patients from other states, and they're still activated at level 1, meaning that at times non-emergency surgeries are being postponed in the current situation. And then when you look at this, exceeding the epidemiological capacity, this was actually something that we talked about today in the admin meeting based on notices that people are getting and the notices not being very clear. One of the questions was, I got this notice from my kid, but I have no clue what class it was or anything like that. And it really is a capacity issue. So as we can get below the orange line, that will hopefully create some adjustments on this one. The other aspect on this, and let me pull up, I need to pull up this slide so I can make sure I'm giving you the accurate information on this one. There have been 10 deaths since June 2021. And I say that because you can see that where we were pretty high in December when we were hitting our peak, and then there were some in there, and then it sort of fell off from about we didn't have that many in May, and you can see another cluster since June, really since July 26th, and so we've had 10. 107. So we've had a total of 269 deaths. 178 have been associated with long-term care facilities. 3 of the 11 deaths since April of 2018 have been among those that are fully vaccinated. So I know you all have had some questions on that. And as we indicated in earlier data, we are seeing breakthrough cases for those that are fully vaccinated. We're also seeing people hospitalized who are fully vaccinated, and you can kind of go up. The key point on this, and the message that we're even seeing in the data, is you're less likely to hit those other phases if you are vaccinated. But they did have 3 deaths of individuals that are fully vaccinated. In terms of the number of folks in Boulder County that are vaccinated, if you can look at the bottom, they are breaking this number in to percent of total population. So if you look at the percent of the population that have received at least 1 dose, it's 73.7. Those that have received a full course of 68.8 of the total population. But then when you compare it to the eligible population, and this is important, because you still don't have children 12 and below that can get the vaccine. They're at 77.6 fully vaccinated, 83.2 who have received at least 1 dose. And I guess everyone really still waiting on what happens with children below, under the age of 12. The reason they put percentage of total population is because as they were having some conversations with folks, what they're really trying to reinforce is that there are folks within Boulder County that can't get it, whether they're too young or there's other medical issues, and that comes into the conversation of some of the other orders, and they talk to us about that. So it's a pretty quick update today. What I would say to you all is that it's moving in the right direction. I think what everyone's wanting to see is if we can continue to move in that direction and see what happens. But for the folks that have asked me a lot of questions of how long are we going to continue to wear the mask, I can guarantee 21 days from today or 21 days from whenever we go below the orange line in that other graph. And that's as much for the community, because I've had a lot of questions from the community about this. So realistically, probably mid-November is when I would say that would be the earliest if we continue on this trend, but it could be a little bit longer. I'd be happy to answer any more specific questions Council has.
A second. Councilmember Christensen.
Harold, I'm curious about the children being vaccinated. I think there's split, teenagers can be vaccinated, right?
Yeah, 12 and below are
12
still
and below,
are still
okay.
not able to be vaccinated.
But how low does that go? I thought it's not, they were not
They
vaccinating
haven't
babies.
said anything. I haven't seen anything in terms of specifics about how low you go. I know I've seen where I think they're doing trials on infants as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
But they haven't, the CDC has not issued anything on that.
Okay, yeah, that's, I think, confusing too. I had some questions from a constituent about that over the weekend, and yeah, okay, thank
And
you.
it's like boosters too. So what you saw in
Yeah.
the CDC is the CDC authorized the boosters if you had the Pfizer vaccine, but they haven't said anything about the boosters if you have the
Right.
Moderna vaccine. But I'm hearing people are getting Moderna boosters, and so I'm
Oh,
not
really?
quite sure what's happened. And so
Okay.
again, it's following that CDC direction and
Where-
FDA.
Where should people go if they want the Moderna vaccine?
I don't know. That was
Oh.
just a rumor I've heard, and I was kind of
Oh.
like, how are they doing that? And so
Maybe call the place where you got it before.
maybe I'm not sure.
Okay,
But the only one that's been approved for a booster right now is Pfizer.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Waters.
Thanks, Mayor Bagley. Harold, could you go back to slide 5?
Oh, tell me I didn't close it. Where is it, Dawn?
I thought it'd be easy. It's not so easy.
No, I hit the wrong button earlier.
So, right, it looks to me like every one of the subsets, segments of the population in the last couple of days, we've seen a tick up. Is that the way to, I'm interpreting this properly?
Yeah, you can definitely see where it's starting to bounce. Now, what we tend to look at in this is it prolonged and is it going to move that way, or we're going to see sort of what we have seen before where it'll bounce a little bit as it's sloping.
So one more time then, bring our wastewater testing into this, and what are we seeing in relationship to that, to those ticks up?
So we were seeing the wastewater kind of doing something similar, but with some bouncing as well. The last result, I want to wait because I've got a lot of questions on it because we did see a spike in that, and I want to understand what that really means before we go much further on it, because we haven't seen something like that happen yet, and I want to understand the data. But the wastewater still generally was trending down, but we were seeing it do this as well.
So, okay, we won't go on with that because I don't want to frighten anybody, but if you're seeing a spike in wastewater as our leading indicator,
Correct.
and we're looking at that little spike there, we ought to be paying real close attention. Yeah?
Correct, and that's why I've asked the questions of, so questions that I asked the folks doing the wastewater is, how confident's the lab with this result? Are they seeing this as an anomaly? I mean, there's a lot of questions that I want to get answered because we saw a spike, but I haven't seen one like that.
Yeah.
And I want to get more information before we take too much from it, and so we're asking some of those questions.
Thank you. Real quickly, could you go to slide 12? Simple question, I think, but I just need an explanation. What's the difference? So on the left-hand column, number of Boulder County residents immunized with a partial course. What's the difference between that and one round? What in those two cells?
Are you talking about?
Number of Boulder County residents immunized with a partial course of a
Course.
COVID-19 vaccine. What's the difference between that and the total number of Boulder County residents who have received at least one COVID-19 dose? Wouldn't that be the same?
All they're doing is taking those that have been fully immunized plus those that have received a partial dose to give you a total number of somebody that's, the group that's being fully immunized and those that have a partial dose. So they're just adding these two together.
Okay, all right, got it. All right, thanks. Good.
All right. Oop. All right, let's go on to, is that it for the COVID-19 update, Harold? All right, great. Let's go on to, do we have any other special reports or presentations?
No, sir.
All right, let's go on to first call public invited to be heard. Everybody, as I read your name, if you'd come down, say your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes to say whatever you want. Address your remarks to the chair, me, and we'll go from there. All right, let's go with Virginia Black. Want to run this big dog?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Bagley, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, Council Members Christensen, Hidalgo, Faring, Martin, Peck, and Waters. My name is Virginia Black. I live at 2609 Elmhurst Circle in this fabulous city of Longmont. I'm part of a small group from the Longmont chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby, here to make a few comments about the resolution on tonight's consent agenda for the support of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, currently being considered in Congress. Additional supporters are here, and I'll ask them to raise their hand at this time. Others are watching from home, and some have written to you asking for support. In bringing the resolution to Council, we have followed the process requested by Council and the Sustainability Advisory Board. Over the past 3 years, we've spoken to and made presentations to most of you. The SAB approved moving the resolution forward to Council, and we thank them for their support and thank Council for agreeing to consider the resolution. Recently, at our booth at the Art Walk, we drew a question on a large sheet of paper and invited children to draw their responses. The question was, how would you like to see the climate change? It was a hugely popular activity with the kids, generating a banner 7 feet long with lots of heartfelt drawings and messages, as you can see in this slide. Many of their messages at the top right here, less fossil fuels, increased solar and wind, and in this corner, electrify everything. Our solutions embodied in Longmont's climate actions and goals is outlined in the Sustainability Plan and Climate Action Task Force recommendations. They are essential to transitioning to renewable energy and decreasing our carbon footprint. Other drawings extend the necessity for action to, down here is a dolphin, to our oceans and to our planet. We are indeed experiencing a global climate crisis, as evidenced by the climate events that occurred over the summer. The IPCC report this August confirmed the extent of our climate crisis and pointed out that we need fast and efficient action to decrease our carbon emissions and maintain a livable temperature. The Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act meets these criteria. It places a fee on carbon at the site of production or import, puts the fee into a central climate trust, and then returns 100% of the net revenue to households on a monthly basis, 1 share per adult and half a share per child. It works well with other climate solutions, as we will see, and we hope that Longmont will approve adding this essential item to the toolbox necessary to change our climate. Thank you.
Adam Reed.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Adam Reed, and my address is 3526 Feather Reed Avenue. Tonight, I will share why carbon pricing is essential. Shown here are 2 scenarios from a climate policy simulator tool called En-ROADS, which was developed at MIT and is freely available online for anyone to use. I encourage you to check it out.
I'm sorry.
Now would be a good time to check it out while we figure out some
sorry.
IT issues.
What did I do here? Okay. I'm sorry, I hope this doesn't count for our time. It's my fault, I hit the wrong button. Okay, there we go, thank you. There you go, sorry.
Thank you for your patience. I know there's a lot going on in this graphic, and so I'd like to highlight its key features. On the top left, the colored regions represent the energy sources that we use. These sources include fossil fuels, as well as renewables, like wind and solar. On the top right, you can see how our emissions trend with time and what the resulting temperature increase is by the end of this century. I'd like to draw your attention to the solid black curve. This curve represents what happens if we do nothing. In this case, we will warm our planet by about 3.6 degrees Celsius. That would be very bad. So far, we've already warmed our planet by about 1.1 degrees Celsius. So what can we do? Below, there are sliders that allow you to apply various climate solutions. For example, you can add in electrification, increase energy efficiency, plant more trees, or add more renewables to our energy mix. And you can play with these sliders, adjusting these parameters, and see the impacts to temperature in real time. While all of these actions are crucial, what you'll find as you continue to play with these sliders is that none of them are as effective as putting a price on carbon pollution. You can see this in the two scenarios. In the top scenario, we employ some climate solutions. These include efforts that are part of Longmont's Climate Action Plan. However, there is no carbon price. This gets us to 2.2 degrees Celsius. Now, in the bottom scenario, we add in a carbon price. This gets us to 1.6 degrees Celsius. I'd like to emphasize that these two scenarios are exactly the same, except for one key difference, and that's a price on carbon. As you can see, putting a price on carbon is one of the most effective tools we have to address climate change. That's why I urge you to support national carbon pricing legislation like the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. Thank you.
Mike Clinton?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Mike Clinton. I live at 1875 Ute Creek Drive. So, why are we asking a local government entity to support federal legislation? You guys have a lot on your plate, COVID, next year's budget. Why are we asking this? Two critical reasons, in our opinion. Number one, climate change is a global issue that impacts us at a local level. Our bill will help Longmont to achieve goals that we've already established on renewable energy and on improving our air quality. So that's one, it helps Longmont. Lyle's gonna talk more about that. Number two, it helps to create the political will for change. It helps to encourage our members of Congress at the national level to enact legislation and specifically support our bill to create this change. So those are the two reasons. It helps Longmont and it creates political will. We have thousands of endorsers already for carbon pricing across the country, including well over 100 municipal governments, several businesses, faith groups, tribal entities. We have a lot of endorsements. Here in Colorado, we have 7 local governments that have endorsed carbon pricing, over 100 local businesses and organizations, and several prominent individuals. Currently, our bill is making its way through Congress. Several pieces of the bill are being considered for inclusion in the budget reconciliation process, which you probably read about recently. So timing is critical, and the time is now to get all the endorsements you can to create the political will. With your approval of this resolution, we can create the political will to get our members of Congress to enact legislation to make our world and our city a more livable place. Thanks.
All right, Lyle Rupert.
Good evening, Mayor Bagley and Council. I'm Lyle Rupert. I live at 2142 Spencer Street. You've heard why this law is needed and how it will help support, how your support will help make it happen. It will help all people, but it will help Longmont in some extra ways. First, it improves air quality. Nearby oil and gas wells now cause poor air quality along the Front Range, making Longmont a less healthy place to live. A fee on carbon will make people less likely to start new wells. Next, our community will come out ahead or even break even. Longmont has started to use less carbon than most places. We will pay lower fees but still get the same amount back as everyone else. This will be true as long as we stay ahead of others in using less carbon. It rewards innovators. It can cost a little extra to be the first city or business or home to try something new. But if the new way uses less carbon, then the fees paid out will become smaller. In this way, the cost of trying something new will be less. It gives businesses a competitive edge. A business that makes things here in Longmont with less carbon can sell goods for a lower price than other companies. Businesses will want to move to Longmont. It accelerates Longmont's climate initiatives. Our city is trying many ideas to help people and businesses use less carbon. When people see that these ideas can lower their monthly bills, they will be happy to get the help and try these new ideas. Last of all, it gives us affordable, abundant clean energy. Longmont is already trying hard to replace carbon with clean energy. This will help that happen faster. Thank you for helping this idea become law. Mary will wrap up our presentation.
All right, let's go with Mary Headley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Mary Headley. I live at 1615 Bowen Street here in Longmont. I'm the last Longmont CCL to speak tonight. And I'd like to read Colorado Representative Karen McCormick's recent statement regarding the Energy Innovation Act into the public record. Karen was unable to come here tonight, but she wanted us to show her support this way. She's already sent you a copy of that letter. Please know that I fully agree with the ideas that Karen has written. Quote, I'm writing both as a citizen of Longmont and as the state representative for our district to urge my support for the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, which was introduced in Congress this year as H.R. 2307. This bill is a very logically and beautifully written piece of legislation that uses a market approach to address the very urgent need to transition to renewable energy sources and to drive down carbon and other greenhouse gas emissions. The steps outlined in the bill will allow us, as a nation, to hit targets in reduction of greenhouse gases in a time frame that will help our planet stay under a critical rise in temperature. We must act now to mitigate damage to ecosystems worldwide. This bill is revenue neutral, will stimulate the economy, create jobs, drive innovation, and put money back into the hands of everyday citizens. I've been a member of the Longmont chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby for 2 years and traveled to Washington, D.C. to lobby our federal lawmakers to support this bill. It has been in the works for over 10 years, and it needs momentum to get it through. I urge a yes vote on a resolution to support this bill as a city and to send a message to our federal delegation to please pass it. That's the end of Karen's letter. At this month's Art Walk, we simply asked the children, how would you like to see the climate change? Now I pose that question to you. I also ask you, what kind of climate and world do you want your children, your grandchildren, and future generations to inherit? What will be your legacy to them? We are at a pivotal point in history, and our children are watching. With your help, we can achieve Longmont's climate goals and a positive future for ourselves and the planet. Working together, we can generate the political will for a livable world. For all the reasons we've covered, we ask the Longmont City Council to approve the endorsement of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act tonight. Thank you.
All right, Bob Bergstrom.
I'm Bob Bergstrom. Thank you, Mayor Bagley and members of council. I live at 1819 20th Avenue, and my business is at 819 South Lincoln. I'm here tonight to urge a vote of no on Resolution R 2021-101. As outlined in my email earlier this week, this resolution clearly states Longmont's desire to be just and equitable, but an objective reading of the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act would have to leave a reasonable person thinking that if this law is enacted, it would be anything but just. The stated goal of the act is to levy a fee against the extractor or importer of energy and refund this fee as a carbon dividend to all citizens. If you look only at what is seen, this seems almost equitable, unless you're in the energy sector. The simple economics dictate that the extractor will increase the cost of his product by the amount of this fee. Every step in the supply chain will also increase the cost related to this fee. The net result will be the consumer paying incrementally higher costs. That doesn't seem either fair or equitable. And if you happen to be in the energy sector, or as my case, one of the industries that supports that sector, it sure looks unfair and unequitable. As the owner of a small manufacturing plant in Longmont, I fail to see how this can do anything but cost primary jobs. And again, the effect will be incremental. Years ago, I was on the board of Longmont Area Economic Council, and I believe we used a multiplier of 7 for primary industry jobs. So the effect will have a multiplying effect. Additionally, I handed out some data and printed a summary from the legislature today, and there are exemptions. There's exemptions for agriculture. And I love our agricultural history here in Longmont. But are the jobs of agriculture more important than those of my employees? Or a plastic injection molder? Or a contract manufacturer making PC boards? Again, I ask, how is this fair and equitable? In closing, I'd like to offer one more piece of data. The Bureau of Labor and Statistics Consumer Price Index, published just 2 weeks ago, gasoline prices have gone up 42.7% over the last year. To endorse a policy that's going to further increase those costs seems tone deaf at best and at worst irresponsible. I urge you to vote no on this resolution. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. All right, Mitzi Nicoletti.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Mitzi Nicoletti. I live at 1261 Button Rock Drive, Longmont, and I'm here representing Sustainable Resilient Longmont. We're here to invite all of you to our annual electric vehicle fair, so you can bring your car, Brian, if you want to drive it around. Anyway, it's our 4th annual. It's going to be at the Boulder Fairgrounds, October 3rd, 11 to 3 p.m. And we're having a record year. We're actually the largest EV fair in the state of Colorado and New Mexico. So we've got, so far, over 200 people pre-registered to attend, over 41 private cars representing 20 different models. Our title sponsors, or our presenting sponsors, are Colorado Renewable Energy Society, Gilbert BMW, and Boulder Hybrids. This year we have a total of 16 sponsors for this event. We're going to have food vendors, we'll have electric bicycles that people can demo. We'll have car rides, and then each different dealership is going to have vehicles.
I'm Lynette McLean. I'm a Longmont resident on Sandpoint Drive. I am just a volunteer on the planning committee for this event. And I just want to say I'm really excited. And I'd like to invite the residents and the council to come out and take a ride in my electric car and all the other, I don't know how many electric cars that there are. So that's it.
Thank you for letting us speak.
All right, thank you. That will conclude. First call public invited to be heard. We have some people in the queue. Is that a mistake? All right, because we don't want to, if we're going to spend time addressing anything that was said, it's more appropriately we should wait till the end of the meeting when we have our council comments. But Councilmember Martin?
Thank you, Mayor Bagley. I am, I guess this is a point of information. Was my understanding that we had decided that speakers may not remove their masks.
In this particular case, I mean, there's a couple of things. The rule says if you're outside 12 feet of the person, you're allowed to speak from the podium. Is Harold there? Yes. Is Eugene maybe at 12 feet? I don't know. The other thing is that if it's medically or professionally necessary for providing a service or whatever, I think that, I mean, if you're wearing your mask in the audience, you take it off in order to be able to speak at a podium. I mean, as I read through the county order, if that gentleman was refusing to wear his mask throughout the meeting, I'd say, you're out. Show us proof if you've got a medical reason. But taking it down, like I've been up here drinking my Coke, you know, or so I wasn't going to chastise them. We have to wear our masks in here, but if they're at the podium, I mean, at what point do we start riding people? So, just doing the best I can, Councilmember Martin. But
Well, thank you, Mayor Bagley. I appreciate that. Maybe we should move the city manager's desk.
could you go outside, Harold? No, he'd like that. He'd
Yeah,
like
I
that.
just wanted to register my
Yeah.
opinion about it.
And then the good news is I think we're going to head towards Zoom meetings, is my guess, based on when talking with council. So we'll be able to talk about that in a little bit. Let's move on to the consent agenda and an introduction and reading by title of first reading of ordinances, please.
Mayor, item 9A is ordinance 2021-49, a bill for an ordinance approving the concept plan amendment for the Barrett Utility Sales and Service, Inc. / Clark annexation located at the northeast corner of State Highway 66 and Erfurt Street. Public hearing and second reading scheduled for October 12, 2021. 9B is Resolution 2021-99, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Housing Authority of the City of Longmont for debt reduction for the Aspen Meadows Senior Apartments. 9C is Resolution 2021-100, a resolution of the Longmont City Council approving the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the 20th Judicial District Probation Office for dispatch services. 9D is Resolution 2021-101, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Longmont, Colorado to endorse the Energy, Innovation, and Carbon Dividend Act. 9E is Resolution 2021-102, a resolution of the Longmont City Council declaring Longmont a Go EV city and pledging to implement strategies to reduce transportation-related emissions. And 9F is approved 3 capital improvement program amendments.
All right, thank you. I would like to pull D. Anyone else? Councilmember Christensen?
I was in the queue first,
I'm still calling on Councilmember Christensen. She popped up first, and she hasn't said anything tonight, but thanks.
I would just like to pull A for a brief comment.
Councilmember Martin?
Since I don't know what D is, I don't know whether,
The resolution of the City Council of the City of Longmont to endorse the Energy, Innovation, and Carbon Dividend Act.
all right, that was the one I was going to pull.
Okay, although I don't have to pull it, would you like to pull it?
Yes.
Okay, it has been pulled by Councilmember Martin. I'm not going to pull it. All right, let's go ahead then and move on to ordinances on second reading and public hearings on any matter.
Mayor, we need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I move the consent agenda less A and D. Second. It's been moved by myself, seconded by Councilmember Waters. All in favor of the consent agenda less A and D, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, the consent agenda passes unanimously. Now let's move on. Thank you, Dawn, for that correction. Let's move on to ordinances on second reading and public hearings on any matter. 10A, ordinance 2021-43, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for expenses and liabilities of the City of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2021. Are there any questions from council? I'm not seeing any, so let's go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-43. Is there anyone here who would like to address ordinance 2021-43? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
I move ordinance 2021-43.
All right, Councilmember Hidalgo Faring moved ordinance 2021-43. Councilmember Waters seconded it. All in favor say, seeing no debate, nobody's in the queue. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. All right, ordinance 2021-43 carries unanimously. All right, 10B, ordinance 2021-45, a bill for an ordinance authorizing a farmland lease agreement between the city of Longmont and Scott Schlegel on the Sherwood open space property. Any questions from council? I'm not seeing anybody in the queue, so let's go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-45. Is there anyone here who would like to come up and speak and address this matter? All right, seeing no one, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Can I have a motion, please? All right, Councilmember Peck has moved ordinance 2021-45. It's been seconded by Councilmember Christensen. Seeing no further debate in the queue, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. All right, ordinance 2021-45 carries unanimously. Let's move on to 10C, ordinance 2021-46, a bill for an ordinance authorizing a temporary mining water supply agreement between the city of Longmont, acting by and through its water utility enterprise, Golden Farm LLLP, and Aggregate Industries WCR Inc. for the Erwin Thomas Reclamation Project. Any questions from council? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-46. Anyone here want to speak on the matter? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Can we have a motion, please?
I'll move approval of ordinance 2021-46.
All right, it's been moved by Dr. Waters, seconded by Councilmember Christensen, as well as a few others, but we'll give you the credit, Councilmember Christensen. All right, all in favor of ordinance 2021-46, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Ordinance 2021-46 carries unanimously. All right, let's go on to 10D, ordinance 2021-47, a bill for an ordinance authorizing a long-term water supply agreement between the city of Longmont, acting by and through its water utility enterprise, Golden Farm LLLP, and Aggregate Industries WCR Inc. for the Erwin Thomas Reclamation Project, very similar to the one just before it. Don't see any questions from council, so let's go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-47. Anybody want to come up and speak and address council on this matter? All right, seeing no one, let's go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? All right, it's been, ordinance 2021-47 was moved by Councilmember Christensen. It was seconded by Councilmember Martin. Let's go ahead and vote. Seeing that there's no debate on the matter in the queue. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. All right, the motion carries unanimously. And then lastly, ordinance 2021-40, actually it is lastly. Ordinance 10E, ordinance 2021-48, a bill for an ordinance amending chapter 14.04 of the Longmont Municipal Code on the Windy Gap surcharge. Any questions from council? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-48. Would anyone like to come up and address council on this issue? All right, seeing no one, let's go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 2021-48. Can we have a motion, please?
Second.
All right, Councilmember Martin has moved ordinance 2021-48. It's been seconded by Councilmember Hidalgo Faring. I don't see any debate waiting in the queue, so let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of ordinance 2021-48, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries unanimously. Let's go back to the items removed from the consent agenda. Councilmember Christensen, let's go ahead and turn the time over to you to address. I think you pulled 2021, I'm sorry, I think you pulled ordinance 2021-49, correct? All right, the time is yours.
Okay, this is the partial printout of